how you can actually take a small flame, a small candle flame, hold it up to a dollar bill or a $5 bill, and that piece of money will actually not burn. We're going to show you how to do that here today. And since today we're using something with a small flame, in this case a candle flame, you definitely want to make sure and get permission from your parents if you're a youngster to do this. You also want to make sure you wear your safety glasses anytime we're dealing with something like this. All you need for this experiment is a copper pipe. This copper pipe can be found at any hardware store. Any diameter pipe, doesn't matter, just go get a copper pipe. You need a candle, and you need some dollar bill or a $5 bill, or if you're really brave, you could use a $20 bill or even a $100 bill. Once you see how this works, you'll see how impressive the experiment is. You can use any piece of paper, by the way. You don't have to use money. It's just a little bit more impressive if you use money. So the way this goes is you walk up to somebody and you say, "Yes, sir, I will show you, I will bet you that I can hold a candle flame for 5 seconds underneath, directly touching this piece of money, and it will not burst into flames. Do you accept my challenge?" And they'll of course say, "Of course I do. That's impossible." And you'll go ahead and do the following. So what we need to do is first light our candle, and we're going to just put it on a nice plate just to keep it out of the way and sort of protected from our tabletop here. And we're just going to light this. By the way, this is not a trick candle. None of these experiments that we ever do are based on tricks. There's no trick going on here. This is just science. This is just the way it works. So what you have here is a candle flame. It's perfectly well lit. What you need to do now is take your money, and what we're going to do is put this candle flame right on the bottom right here. Now, if we were to just do this right now, of course, this money is made of paper. This money is going to burst into flames. But we're not just going to place it right on top like that. We're going to actually take this copper pipe, and we're going to wrap this piece of money directly around like this. So we're just wrapping it around, nothing special, right? And then what we're going to do is hold this candle flame directly on top of this money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's take a look. We look at it, it looks pretty burnt, but watch this. It definitely did not burn, because when you look through to the other side, you see no discoloration. It has definitely a scorch mark here, but when you take a look and just use your finger, you can actually wipe most of that away. Most of this black stuff here is actually soot from the candle. So if you had to take this to a bank or to a grocery store, this is still passable. This is still perfectly valid currency. So how were we able to put this money in the candle flame for 5 seconds and have it not actually catch on fire? The secret, as you probably guessed, is this copper tube. This copper tube is what's doing the actual work here. What's happening is, when you hold this guy up to the flame, then the heat from the candle flame is going into the paper, obviously. Now, the way things burn is, you have to increase the temperature to what they call the kindling temperature, and then after that point, it'll burst into flames, and it'll start combining with the oxygen, and that's what we say what happens when things burn, right? It combines with oxygen and makes a flame. In this case, since we wrap it in the copper like this, when we hold it over the flame like this, what's going on is the heat is going into the paper, but it's immediately transferred to this copper pipe, which is in direct contact with the money, right? And that's very, very important. You see, if I had used a plastic tube here or some other not a great conductor, then the money would have burned. But because I'm using copper, copper is one of the best conductors of heat that we have. When I say conductor of heat, I mean that if you put a flame here, the heat is conducted along the copper and transmitted along the copper very, very, very fast. So what's happening is we are putting heat from the flame into this money, but that heat is going into the copper and it's being carried away from the money very, very fast. So the temperature of the money is not actually able to rise high enough to actually burn it, because as soon as we put the heat into the money, the copper carries the heat away and it's distributed through the copper pipe, and then it goes into the air and it leaves, basically. So that is why this works, and that's why you're able to do this without actually burning your money. Now let me show you what happens when we use a regular sheet of paper, just so you know. We're going to hold this sheet of paper, wrap it around, balance it, the same as we've done before, and then we'll put it right directly in the candle flame. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take a look at what we have. And we have a black mark. But again, it looks, like it definitely burned, but if you turn it over, you can see that it did not burn all the way through anyway, because the other side's not discolored at all. And again, if you use your finger, you can actually wipe most of that away. Most of that soot is actually from the candle flame, the gas hitting it and depositing all that stuff on there. Now, just to show you what's going to happen if you don't use the copper tube, we'll arrange this guy and we'll hold it for 5 seconds into the flame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's on fire. So you can see that when we actually take away the copper pipe, the paper catches on fire within 2 or 3 seconds, and it's rolling on fire within 5 seconds. So the copper makes all the difference in the world. That heat coming in from the candle flame goes into the paper, immediately gets taken away by the copper pipe, so the temperature of the paper cannot rise hot enough to actually catch on fire. So you can scorch it, you can burn it, but at least for the 5-second test, you're not going to catch it on fire. Now, if you hold that flame there long enough, or if you have a hotter flame, then you'll be able to overcome this effect here. But certainly for a simple experiment with a candle, a piece of paper, or a $1 bill or a $5 bill, you can do a very impressive experiment that really shows you what heat conduction is all about. That energy goes into the copper, it gets transmitted away from the paper, so the paper actually doesn't catch on fire.